I remember one week in my mission where we had 30 set appointments from the previous week. All we were doing was find, tracked and street contact. We just opened a new area. And there we were just setting up appointments to fill our schedule the following week. 30 set appointments. We were thrilled. By the end of that week, guess how many appointments that we'd set actually held up? 0. 30 out of 30, the people stood us up. It was brutal by the end. Well, I'd been told before, always have a backup plan. And when you have plan A, which is best case scenario, a set appointment, spend some time planning a plan B, maybe even a plan C, if that person isn't there. Well, we sure went through our plan B and C that week, but I'm glad we had them. Now, when you look at section 56, we're going to need some backup plans because things are not going according to the original plan. And if you ever found yourself in that situation, well, this little revelation is for you. 56 verse 1, "Hearken, O ye people who profess my name, saith the Lord your God." Interesting how he starts with that, right? I mean, you talk the talk, right? You profess my name. Do you walk the walk? Are you actually going to follow through on your commitments? We'll see. He goes on, "For behold, mine anger is kindled against the rebellious, and they shall know mine arm and mine indignation in the day of visitation and of wrath upon the nations. And he that will not take up his cross and follow me and keep my commandments, the same shall not be saved. Behold, I, the Lord, command, and he that will not obey shall be cut off in mine own due time, after I have commanded, and the commandment is broken." This is a painful intro to this little revelation. We saw back in a prior section, 54, this idea of better to have a millstone around your neck. Ooh, that's scary too. Here, this idea of anger and indignation, this wrath, cut off. Well, I guess the punishment fits the crime. You've been cut off from the Lord because you cut yourself off from your covenant. It was your covenant that was connecting you to him, and you broke it. What's he supposed to do? In fact, when he says, "He that will not take up his cross and follow me," that's personal to the Lord. He took up his cross even though he didn't want to. Remember in Gethsemane, is there any other option? Can we take away this cup and try something different? Jesus was haunted by his cross before he had to carry it, but he carried it. He kept his commitment. He kept the covenant with his Father, the commandment of his Father. And he's asking that we do the same, that we take up whatever cross is haunting us, and we do it even though it's hard. Now, when we don't, what happens? When we commit to something and then don't follow through. If we made a commitment and somebody else was banking on us and then we're not here to help. Again, that was Lehman before. Now who is it? Well, it's Ezra Thayer. Notice in verse 4. "Wherefore I, the Lord, command and revoke, as it seemeth me good. And all this to be answered upon the heads of the rebellious, saith the Lord." Well, we're going to meet Ezra Thayer in just one more verse. But to put this in perspective before we even meet him, this is an important principle, verse 4. "I command and I revoke." I plan and I change plans, especially when somebody does something that forces me to rethink things. This is who I called. This is who I sent, and they were unwilling to take up their cross. Okay, in that case, I commanded, now I revoke that command, and it's back to the drawing board. I'm going to have to try something else. This is where divine design and human agency come together and sometimes clash. Where many are called, but few are chosen. When many are commanded, and sometimes that commandment has to be revoked because they didn't accept it. You understand? I think too often we're like, no, God said it was supposed to be this way. Yeah, he's working through human beings. But he gave me this promise. Yes, but sometimes God's promises are dependent on other people following God's commands. He is working through a tangled web of individual agencies, and he doesn't force his will upon us. He commands, but then he revokes when we don't obey him. And he's adjusting on the fly constantly. Here's the example. Verse 5. Wherefore, now that I've established how I do things, wherefore I revoke the commandment which was given unto my servants Thomas B. Marsh and Ezra Thayer, and give a new commandment unto my servant Thomas. You see, Thomas, this was not your fault. I set up a companionship. Remember earlier I said you're going to go 2 by 2? Well, the 2 I'd planned to go together were Thomas B. Marsh and Ezra Thayer. Match made in heaven. I'm in heaven. I made the match. Unfortunately, Ezra didn't follow through. He wouldn't go. He didn't accept this mission call. And I can't send Thomas by himself. It's got to be 2 by 2. So what do? I'll give a new commandment unto my servant Thomas, that he shall take up his journey speedily to the land of Missouri, and my servant Selah J. Griffin shall also go with him. If I'm mispronouncing your name, Selah, I apologize. Okay? Now, change of plans, change of companionships. Does this ever happen with your ministering assignment? Did this ever happen with your mission call where it was one place and now you have to go somewhere else? This happens to us all the time in life. And sometimes it's because someone else used agency in a way that the Lord would have hoped otherwise. And again, that's just the first domino. Because if now Selah is supposed to go with Thomas, look at verse 6 and 7. For behold, I revoke the commandment which was given unto my servants Selah J. Griffin and Newell Knight, in consequence of the stiff-neckedness of my people which are in Thompson and their rebellions. Are we going back to what Lehman Copley was causing problems a few sections ago? He says, wherefore let my servant Newell Knight remain with them, and as many as will go may go, that are contrite before me, and be led by him to the land which I have appointed. We're making all kinds of changes here. We're shuffling the deck and rearranging companionships, and I said, okay, darn it. I really wanted Thomas and Selah to go, except Thomas and Ezra. That's not going to work. Ezra's out of the picture. Backup plan, plan B, what do I do? Oh, Selah, you can step into this one. Ooh, but you used another domino. You were assigned with Newell Knight. That's not going to work. Well, Newell himself has had to make some adjustments because they came from Colesville and now they're in Thompson, outside Kirtland. And then I told him, nope, you got to go on to Missouri because you can't stay because Lehman pulled out the rug from underneath you. Poor Joseph. It's, as an elders quorum president, we're constantly doing these things. Oh, that companionship's got to change. That just moved in, moved out. They can't, that's not going to work. Okay, constant adjustment on the fly. And doing the best we can to seek the Spirit's guidance in those adjustments. So Selah, sorry, you're not going to go with Newell. Now you're going to go with Thomas. Does that work? Okay, go. Newell, you're not with Selah anymore. Newell, stand fast in your ministry. Head on down, bring your saints to Missouri. It's all going to work out. And notice what he said in all of that. There's going to be blessings for those that are contrite before me. There's that word again. We've seen that several times this week. Please be humble. It's the first thing to go when things go wrong. And yet, man, the lubricant that contrition provides, just some of to grease things, to oil, the grinding gears that are going wrong when they're grinding to a halt. Let's just be contrite. Let's be meek. Let's be humble. I was willing to do that. Why can't I be willing to do this? It's all good, Joseph. I get it. It's hard. Adjust however you need. And then let me add one other thing, because it's still not even too late for poor old Ezra. Ezra, you were the domino that caused all these changes, but guess what? You can still be part of this. The Lord reassures him in verse 8 and 9, again, verily I say unto you that my servant Ezra Thayer, at least if he's willing to be my servant, must repent of his pride and of his selfishness. I guess those were some of the things that were keeping him. Didn't want to go, didn't want to go then, didn't want to go there, didn't want to go with Thomas B. Marsh, I don't know. But pride, selfishness, we got to get over that. Keep going. You need to obey the former commandment which I have given him concerning the place upon which he lives. And if he will do this, as there shall be no divisions made upon the land, he shall be appointed still to go to the land of Missouri. I love that still. Ezra, it's not too late to turn things around. This particular ship has sailed. Thomas has got to go, and Selah's got to take your place. But there will yet be other ships a-sailing. You can still join the cause. You can still have opportunities. They might be different. It might be a different calling now because that one's now filled. It might be a different location that you're making a difference. It's okay. You can still make one. And to me, what is so beautifully moving about this, I'm sure we could have said the same thing in the Lehman Copley revelation and called him by name and said, you can still come too, if you're willing. I think that's true of all of us. Things sometimes go wrong because we've done some wrong. And the Lord commands and then revokes, and he adjusts and shuffles, but he's willing to let us change too. And I'm grateful for that. It's never permanently too late to come on board and say to the Lord, here am I, send me. And he will. The Lord will. He still will.